The military transport ship touched down on the landing pad with a soft hiss of steam. Yuna Kim stepped out into the warm Seoul afternoon air and felt her knees almost give way. After 3 years of breathing recycled air in space stations and breathing masks on dead planets, the simple act of taking a deep breath of Earth air felt like a miracle. She pulled her jacket tighter around her shoulders. The left sleeve hung a little differently than the right, but most people would not notice. The prosthetic arm underneath worked perfectly, but it was still cold metal and plastic where warm flesh used to be. Some prices of war never went away. The university campus spread out before her like a green paradise. Students walked along tree-lined paths, carrying books and talking about normal things like exams and weekend plans. No one looked over their shoulders for enemy snipers. No one jumped at sudden sounds. It was so peaceful it almost hurt to watch. "Yuma, over here." She turned and saw Minho Park waving at her from beside a campus shuttle. Her childhood friend looked almost the same as when she left, except his smile seemed forced. His eyes kept moving, looking left and right, never staying still for more than a few seconds. "Minho," she said, walking over to him. He pulled her into a hug, but she felt him tense up when he touched her left arm through the jacket. "Welcome home, warrior," he said quietly. "How was the flight?" "Long," she replied. 3 years feels like 30 when you are coming home." They climbed into the shuttle. As it moved through the campus, Yuna watched students sitting on grass, reading books, playing games. Everything looked so normal, so safe, so different from the burned worlds where she had spent the last 3 years fighting the Valkyrie aliens. "So tell me everything," Minho said. "What was it really like out there?" Yuna looked at him carefully. His voice sounded excited, but his eyes were still moving around, watching everything except her face. "It was war," she said simply. "People died. We stopped the aliens from reaching Earth. That is all that matters." Minho nodded, but something in his expression made her feel uneasy. In the war, she had learned to trust her instincts about people. Right now, those instincts were telling her that something was wrong with her old friend. The shuttle stopped at the dormitory building. Her new room was on the 3rd floor, small but clean. Her roommate was already there, unpacking clothes from a suitcase. "You must be Yuma," the girl said, turning around with a bright smile. "I am Nayeon Jung, pre-med student. I have heard so much about you." Nayeon was pretty, with short black hair and friendly eyes. She seemed normal, excited to meet her new roommate, but something about her smile reminded Yuna of the fake expressions the Valkyrie sometimes wore when they tried to copy human behavior. "Nice to meet you," Yuma said, setting down her single military bag. "So exciting to room with a real space marine," Nayeon said. "I have so many questions about your service. What were the aliens like? How did you fight them? Did you learn about their biology?" The questions came fast, too fast. Most people asked about the war with sadness or fear in their voices. Nayeon sounded almost hungry for information. "I am tired," Yuna said. "Maybe we can talk tomorrow." "Of course," Nayeon said, but her smile did not change. "Get some rest. Tomorrow we start classes together." That night, Yuna lay in her narrow bed listening to her roommate breathe. Something was wrong here. She could feel it in the air, the same feeling she got on alien worlds right before an attack. Her left hand moved Yuna woke up before dawn, as she had every day for 3 years. Her body was still on military time, ready for patrol duty that would never come. She dressed quietly and slipped out of the room while Nayeon still slept. The campus at sunrise was beautiful and empty. She walked the paths alone, trying to remember what normal life felt like, but her trained eyes kept noticing things that seemed off. Students walked together in groups of 3 or 4, never alone. When they passed each other, they nodded in exactly the same way. Their smiles were identical, like they had all learned from the same teacher. In her first class, Advanced Literature, Professor Kim canceled the lesson after only 10 minutes. "Family emergency," he said, but his voice was flat, without emotion. "Read chapters 5 through 8. We will discuss next week." Half the students left immediately. The other half stayed in their seats, staring straight ahead for several more minutes before finally getting up. Yuna watched them move toward the door in perfect single file, like soldiers following orders. Her next class was the same. Professor canceled. Students acted strange. At lunch, she sat with Minho in the cafeteria. The food was good, better than military rations, but something felt wrong about the whole place. "The security guards are new," she said, pointing to 3 large men standing near the entrance. "Yeah, they hired a lot more this semester," Minho said. His eyes darted around the room as he spoke. "Colonel Soyeon Lee runs security now. She used to be in the military like you. Why do they need so many guards?" Minho was quiet for a long moment. Then he leaned closer and spoke very softly. "People have been changing, Yuna. Friends become distant. Then suddenly they are too friendly. Some students just disappear. The school says they transferred or had family problems. But..." He stopped talking as 3 students walked past their table. All 3 turned their heads to look at Yuna at exactly the same moment, then turned away in perfect sync. "See what I mean?" Minho whispered. That afternoon, there was a mandatory wellness assembly in the main auditorium. Every student and teacher had to attend. Yuna sat in the back row, watching. The speaker was Dr. Han, the university president. He talked about mental health and the importance of community. Normal topics, boring speech. But Yuna was not listening to his words. She was watching the audience. 300 people sat perfectly still. They blinked at the same time. When Dr. Han made a joke, they all laughed for exactly 3 seconds, then stopped together like someone had flipped a switch. Yuna felt cold sweat on her neck. In the war, she had seen alien-controlled humans before. They moved like this, thought like this, acted like this. After the assembly, she followed a group of students to see where they went. They walked to the library, sat down at computers, and began typing. All of them typed at exactly the same speed, with exactly the same rhythm. She got close enough to see one screen. The student was not doing homework. They were writing detailed reports about other students. Names, classes, habits, weaknesses. Yuna backed away slowly and headed to her dorm room. Her heart was beating fast, the way it did before combat. That night, Nayeon asked more questions. "Did you ever capture any aliens alive? Did you study how they think? How they control people? Why do you want to know?" Yuna asked. Nayeon's smile never changed. "Just curious about your experiences. We are roommates now. I want to understand you better." But her eyes were cold, empty, like looking into deep space. Yuna lay awake all night, listening to her roommate breathe. Every breath was perfectly timed, exactly 4 seconds in, exactly 4 seconds out, like a machine pretending to be human. The war had followed her home after all. Yuna spent the next 2 days watching and learning. She mapped the campus in her mind the way she used to map enemy territory. Guard positions, student movement patterns, building layouts. Everything felt like preparation for war, but she hoped she was wrong. On Thursday evening, she was walking back from the library when someone grabbed her arm and pulled her into an empty classroom. "Do not make noise," said a young man she recognized from her literature class. His name was Taehyun Choi, student council president. "We need to talk." "About what?" Yuna kept her voice calm, but her muscles were ready to fight. "About the fact that you are the only person on this campus who looks around corners before walking. About how you count exits in every room. About how you have not been compromised yet." Taehyun moved to the window and looked out carefully before closing the blinds. "Compromised by what?" Yuna asked, though she was starting to understand. "Follow me. There are others you need to meet." He led her through corridors she had never seen, down stairs that seemed older than the rest of the building. They walked for 10 minutes through basement tunnels that smelled of dust and old concrete. Finally, they reached a heavy metal door. Taehyun knocked 3 times, paused, then knocked twice more. The door opened. Inside was a room full of students, maybe 20 of them. They all looked normal, but their eyes were alert and worried, not empty like the others upstairs. "Everyone, this is Yuma Kim," Taehyun announced. "The space marine we talked about." A girl named Yoonji stepped forward. "We have been hoping you would find us, or we would find you. We need someone who knows how to fight aliens." "What aliens?" Yuna asked, though her heart was already sinking. Taehyun pulled out a tablet and showed her photos. Students with strange marks on their necks. Teachers with eyes that reflected light like animal eyes. Security guards who never seemed to sleep or eat. "The Valkyrie," said a boy named Dongwoo. "They did not just invade the outer colonies. They sent scouts to Earth years ago. This campus is their testing ground." Yuna sat down hard in a metal chair. "The Valkyrie here, on Earth, in her safe place." "How long?" she asked. 6 months since it started getting bad," Yoonji said. "But we think they have been here longer, planning. They chose this campus because it produces future leaders. Doctors, engineers, government officials, business executives. They are not trying to destroy us," Taehyun continued. "They want to control us from the inside. Take our best and brightest, make them into puppets, then send them out into the world." Dongwoo showed her more photos on his phone. "Look at this. We have been tracking the compromised students. They get perfect grades now. But they all write exactly the same way. Same word choices, same ideas, like they are all thinking with one brain." "The old bomb shelters," said Yoonji, gesturing around the room. "Built during the war decades ago. The aliens cannot seem to find us down here. Something about the old concrete and metal interferes with their connection." Yuna looked around at the young faces. They were scared but brave, like fresh recruits before their first battle. "What do you want from me?" she asked. "Help us fight them," Taehyun said simply. "You know their weaknesses. You know how they think. We have been hiding and watching, but we need someone who knows how to strike back." Yuna closed her eyes. She had dreamed of peaceful classrooms and normal problems. She had wanted to forget about war, about death, about the weight of her plasma rifle, and the sound of alien screams. "I just wanted to go to school," she said quietly. "So did we," Yoonji said gently. "But they brought the war here. Now we choose, fight or become their slaves." Yuna opened her eyes and looked at each student. They reminded her of herself before she learned what war really cost. "All right," she said. "Show me everything you know." Yuna had learned to sleep light during the war. Any sound, any movement, and she would wake up ready to fight. That skill saved her life on her 5th night back on campus. She felt the bed move slightly as someone leaned over her. Through half-closed eyes, she saw Naeun holding a small device that looked like a medical injector. Her roommate was moving it slowly toward Yuna's neck. Yuna grabbed Naeun's wrist and twisted hard. The injector fell to the floor with a small crash. "What is that?" Yuna demanded, sitting up quickly. Naeun's face changed completely. The friendly smile disappeared, replaced by something cold and alien. Her eyes reflected the dim light from the window like a cat's eyes. "You should have stayed asleep," Naeun said in a voice that sounded wrong, like 2 people talking at the same time. "The conversion process is much easier when the subject does not resist." Yuna rolled off the bed and grabbed the injector. Inside was a thick, dark liquid that seemed to move on its own. "Valkyrie parasite serum," she whispered. She had seen it before on the colony worlds. 1 injection, and a human became a puppet. Naeun lunged at her with inhuman speed, but Yuna was faster. 3 years of combat training kicked in. She dodged, grabbed Naeun's arm, and put her in a chokehold until she went unconscious. Yuna tied up her roommate with bed sheets and examined the injector more carefully. There was writing on the side in Korean. "Property of Dr. Jiho Nam, physics department. She had never heard of Dr. Nam, but now she had a target. The next morning, Yuna met with the resistance group in the bomb shelter. She showed them the injector and told them about the attack. Dr. Nam, Taehyun said, looking worried. He teaches advanced physics. Very smart, very respected, if he is working with them. Then he is probably their chief scientist on Earth. Yuna finished. We need to find out what he knows. She spent the next week watching Dr. Nam from a distance. He looked normal during the day, teaching classes and meeting with students. But at night, he went to the old chemistry building that was supposed to be empty. Yuna followed him one evening and climbed through a window to watch. Inside, Dr. Nam was working with equipment she had never seen before. Strange machines that hummed with alien technology, tanks full of the same dark liquid from the injector. But the most shocking thing was the people. 20 students and 3 professors stood perfectly still around the room like statues. All of them had the same empty eyes as Nayeon. All of them had small devices attached to their necks. Dr. Nam was talking to someone on a communication device. Yuna could not hear everything, but she caught enough words to understand. He was reporting to someone about the convergent progress and asking for more subjects. She took photos with her phone and climbed back out the window. On her way back to the dorms, she remembered something from the war. The Valkyrie control systems always used the same frequency range for their signals. If you could disrupt that frequency, you could break their control temporarily. Back in the shelter, she shared what she had learned with the group. We need to build electromagnetic pulse devices, she told them. Small ones, portable. If we can disrupt their control signals, we might be able to save some of the compromised people. Dongwoo, who was studying electrical engineering, nodded excitedly. I can build those. We have access to the engineering labs. Good, Yuna said, because tomorrow night we start hunting. For the first time since coming home, Yuna felt like a soldier again. But this time, she was not fighting on some distant world. She was fighting for her home, her friends, her future. The hunt was about to begin. Yuna was teaching Dongwoo how to build the electromagnetic pulse devices when footsteps echoed in the tunnel outside their shelter. Everyone froze. Nobody was supposed to know about this place. 3 slow knocks, pause, 2 quick knocks. That was their signal, but none of them were expecting anyone. Taehyun opened the door carefully, ready to slam it shut if needed. Instead, a woman in a security uniform stepped inside. It was Colonel Soyeon Lee, the head of campus security. Colonel, Yuna said, standing up straight out of habit. At ease, soldier, Soyeon said with a tired smile. I have been looking for you resistance kids for weeks. Everyone in the room tensed. This could be a trap. Relax, Soyeon continued. If I wanted to turn you in, I would have brought the compromised guards with me. She sat down on one of the metal chairs and rubbed her face with both hands. I have been fighting this infection from inside the security department for 3 months. Half my guards are not human anymore. The other half think I am going crazy when I try to explain what is happening. How do we know you are not one of them? Yeonji asked. Soyeon pulled out her phone and showed them photos. Security camera footage of students entering buildings as normal humans and leaving with empty eyes and strange movements. Because they tried to convert me last week, she said, rolling up her sleeve. There was a bandage on her arm with dried blood underneath. Dr. Nam himself came to my office with that injection device. I fought him off, but barely. Yuna examined the wound. It looked like a failed injection site. Why did you survive when others did not? Military training. Like you, Soyeon said. We learn to resist mental influence, to keep fighting even when everything tells us to give up. I think that makes us harder to convert. Over the next hour, Soyeon shared everything she knew. The aliens had been planning this for over a year. They had maps of the entire campus marked with targets. They had lists of students by major, ranking them by future importance to society. The engineering students first, she explained. Then pre-med, then political science, then business. They want to control the people who will build the future. Dongwu finished the first EMP device while they talked. It was small, about the size of a phone, with a simple button to activate it. "How do we test it?" he asked. "We do not," Yuna said. "We use it in the field and hope it works." Soyeon stood up and looked around the room at all the young faces. "I have access to security files, building plans, guard schedules. You have the technology and the will to fight. Together, we might actually have a chance." "A chance to do what?" Taehyun asked. "To save everyone," Yuna said. "But first, we need to know how many we are fighting and how much time we have." They spent the next 2 days gathering intelligence. Soyeon used her security access to identify compromised individuals. The students used their classroom access to observe and document strange behavior. Yuna taught them basic military tactics: how to move quietly, how to watch without being seen, how to plan an operation. What they discovered was worse than they feared. 2 weeks, Soyeon said during their next meeting. In 2 weeks, they are planning something called a graduation ceremony. According to the files I found, it will be a mass activation event. "What does that mean?" Yunji asked. "It means they will send all the compromised students out into the world at once," Yuna explained. "Doctors, engineers, future government officials, all under alien control. They will spread to other cities, other countries." The room was quiet as everyone understood what this meant. "So we have 2 weeks to stop them," Taehyun said. "Less than that," Soyeon corrected. "We need time to plan and execute. We have maybe 10 days. Yuna looked around the room at her unlikely army of students and one security officer. "Then we better get started." The first raid happened at midnight on a Tuesday. Yuna led Taehyun and Dongwoo into the old chemistry building, where Dr. Nam had his secret laboratory. They moved like ghosts through the corridors, using hand signals Yuna had taught them from military training. The lab was exactly as she remembered. 20 compromised humans stood motionless around strange alien machines. The dark parasite serum bubbled in glass tanks along the walls. "Remember," Yuna whispered, "EMP first, then we secure the area. Do not hurt the humans if you can avoid it." Dongwoo activated his device. A pulse of electromagnetic energy filled the room with a soft blue glow. Immediately, the compromised humans began to stumble and shake. The devices on their necks sparked and went dark. "What happened to us?" one of the students asked, looking around in confusion. "Where are we?" "You are safe now," Taehyun told them, while Yuna destroyed the alien equipment with a metal pipe. They found documents in Dr. Nam's desk that made their blood run cold. Maps of universities around the world. Tokyo, London, New York, Sydney. The aliens were running the same program at dozens of locations. "This is bigger than we thought," Yuna said, studying the papers. "They are not just targeting Korea. They want the whole world." The rescued students told them about other hidden labs around campus. An alien nest in the basement of the library. Another one under the gymnasium. Each location had more compromised humans and more equipment. Over the next 5 days, Yuna's team hit 6 different alien installations. They saved 43 people and destroyed millions of dollars worth of alien technology. But each raid brought new problems. The aliens began to adapt. They posted guards at their facilities. They changed their locations. They started hunting the resistance team directly. On the 6th raid, everything went wrong. They were attacking a nest under the student center when alien-controlled security guards surrounded the building. Yuna and her team found themselves trapped in the basement with nowhere to run. "This way," Minho called from across the room. He had joined their team after learning about the resistance. "There is another exit through the maintenance tunnels." But as they ran toward him, Yuna saw something that made her heart stop. A small device was attached to the back of Minho's neck, partially hidden by his hair. "Minho, stop," she shouted, but it was too late. He led them straight into a trap. 6 compromised students were waiting in the tunnel, along with Dr. Nam himself. "Hello, Yuna," Dr. Nam said with a smile that was not quite human. "We have been looking forward to this meeting." The fight was brutal but short. Yuna's military training helped her defeat most of the compromised students, but Dr. Nam escaped in the confusion. Worse, during the battle, Minho collapsed and began convulsing. "The partial conversion is failing," Dongwu said, examining Minho with a flashlight. "The alien device is fighting his natural resistance, but it is killing him." Yuna knelt beside her oldest friend. His eyes were half empty, half human. He looked at her with recognition, but also with alien hunger. "Yuna," he whispered, "help me. I can feel them in my head, but I am still me, still fighting." She looked at the EMP device in her hand. It might save him, but partial conversions were unstable. The electromagnetic pulse could free his mind, or it could stop his heart. "Please," Minho said, grabbing her arm with a grip that was too strong, too cold. "Do not let them win." Yuna closed her eyes and made the choice every soldier dreads. She activated the EMP device and held it against the back of his neck. The blue light filled the tunnel, and Minho screamed. Minho's scream echoed through the tunnel, then suddenly stopped. For a terrible moment, Yuna thought she had killed him. Then his eyes opened, clear and human again. "Yuna," he whispered, his voice weak but his own. "Thank you. I could feel them controlling me, making me lead you into traps. I tried to fight, but you are safe now," she said, helping him sit up. But even as she spoke, alarms began wailing throughout the campus. "The EMP pulse," Dongwu said, looking worried. "It was stronger than the others. They know where we are." They carried Minho back to the bomb shelter, but their safe hiding place did not feel safe anymore. The aliens knew about the resistance now. They knew about the EMP devices. Everything had changed. 3 hours later, Dr. Nam's voice came over every speaker on campus. Students were ordered to report to the main auditorium immediately for an emergency assembly. "We have to go," Soyan said. "If we do not show up, they will know we are the resistance fighters." The auditorium was packed. Every student, every teacher, every staff member sat in perfect rows. Dr. Nam stood on the stage with a dozen security guards who moved too smoothly to be human. "Fellow scholars," he began, his voice carrying an alien accent that had not been there before. "Tonight marks a great achievement. Our exchange program has been even more successful than planned." Behind him, a large screen showed a world map covered in red dots. Each dot was a university. Seoul National was just the beginning. Our converted students have already reached 47 institutions across 6 continents: Harvard, Oxford, Tokyo University, the Sorbonne. The best minds of your species, now serving a greater purpose. Yuna felt sick. The scale was beyond anything they had imagined. "Tomorrow night, during our graduation ceremony, we will activate every sleeper agent simultaneously. Your future leaders will begin reshaping human society from within. Resistance will become impossible." The crowd of compromised humans clapped in perfect rhythm, but Yuna noticed some people in the audience who looked confused or frightened. Not everyone had been converted yet. After the assembly, the resistance team met in emergency session. 47 universities, Taeyeon said, his voice hollow. Thousands of compromised students. The transmission will come from here, Soyeon said, studying building blueprints. There is a massive communication array on top of the administration building. If we can destroy it before tomorrow night. The backup systems, Dongwu interrupted. Look at these power readings. There are secondary transmitters throughout the campus. Even if we destroy the main tower, they can still send the signal. They worked through the night, planning desperate attacks on multiple targets. But they all knew the truth. There were too few of them, and too little time. At dawn, Soyeon made her decision. "I am going to destroy the main tower," she announced. "All the explosives we have. One big blast. It will not stop them, but it will delay them." "That is a suicide mission," Yuna said. "Maybe, but it will give you time to reach the source. Soyun pointed to the deepest part of the building plans. The real control center is not in Dr. Nam's lab. It is underneath the administration building, 3 levels down. That is where their queen is. Queen. The central intelligence coordinating all of this. Kill her, and the whole network might collapse. Yuna studied the plans. Getting to the underground chamber would mean fighting through dozens of compromised guards and alien creatures. It was almost certainly a one-way mission. I will go, she said quietly. Yuna. No. Minho protested, still weak from his ordeal. I am a soldier, she replied. This is what soldiers do. As the sun rose over the campus, Yuna realized her war had never really ended. It had just come home. Yuna descended into the underground levels of the administration building just as explosions rocked the campus above. Soyun's sacrifice had begun. The lights flickered, and emergency alarms wailed through the corridors. The basement levels looked nothing like a normal building. The walls were covered with a black, organic material that pulsed like a heartbeat. Strange tubes ran along the ceiling, filled with the same dark liquid she had seen in Dr. Nam's laboratory. Her military boots made no sound on the alien floor. 3 years of combat in space had taught her how to move through hostile territory. But this felt different. This felt like walking inside a living creature. The first level had 20 compromised humans standing guard. They turned toward her with empty eyes that glowed in the darkness. Yuna activated her EMP device and watched them collapse as their control devices failed. Where are we? One of them asked, a professor she recognized from the history department. Safe, Yuna told him. Find the stairs. Get out of the building. The second level was worse. The walls were covered with cocoon-like pods, each one containing a human suspended in alien fluid. Students, teachers, staff members. Some she recognized, others were strangers. All of them had the same peaceful expression, as if they were dreaming. She counted over 100 pods. These were the people who had disappeared over the past months, not converted like the others, but stored for some other purpose. Moving deeper, the third level opened into a vast chamber that made her stomach turn. The entire space was alive. The floor, walls, and ceiling moved with slow breathing motions. Veins of alien technology ran through everything, pulsing with energy. At the center of the chamber sat something that could only be the Valkyrie Queen. It was huge, at least 3 meters tall, with multiple arms and a head that seemed to shift between human and alien features. Its skin was the same black material that covered the walls, but it glowed with internal light. Welcome, warrior, the queen said in a voice that sounded like 100 people speaking together. I have been waiting for you. Yuna raised her EMP device, but alien tendrils shot from the floor and walls, wrapping around her arms and legs before she could activate it. Do not struggle, the queen continued, moving closer. I wish to speak with you. About what? Yuna demanded, fighting against the restraints. About your future. About humanity's future. You have fought us across the galaxy, killed thousands of my children, destroyed our colonies. You are remarkably effective for such a primitive species. The queen's face shifted to look more human, almost beautiful. But you are also exhausted. I can see it in your mind. 3 years of war, watching friends die, carrying weapons that grow heavier each day. You came home seeking peace, but found only more conflict. Get to the point, Yuna said. Join us willingly. Become our general. Use your military knowledge to help us integrate with humanity peacefully. No more fighting, no more death, just unity. The queen gestured to screens that showed cities around the world. Tomorrow, we activate our sleeper agents globally. But if you command them, the transition can be gentle. Humans will barely notice as we guide them toward a better society. Better for who? For everyone. No more war, no more hatred, no more suffering. One mind, one purpose, one peaceful world. Yuna looked around the living chamber, at the pods containing stolen humans, at the alien technology feeding off human dreams. "That is not peace," she said. "That is death." The queen's face hardened, becoming more alien. "Then you choose the difficult path. Very well." More tendrils emerged from the walls, moving toward Yuma with syringes full of the dark conversion serum. But the queen had made one mistake. While talking, she had moved close enough for Yuna to reach the EMP device clipped to her belt with her prosthetic hand. The device was specially modified, much more powerful than the others. Dongwu had built it to destroy the entire control system. As the alien needles touched her skin, Yuna smiled. "You made one error," she told the queen. "You assumed I came here to negotiate." Yuna activated the EMP device with her prosthetic hand just as the alien needles pierced her skin. The device was 10 times more powerful than the others, designed to overload every piece of alien technology in the building. The blue electromagnetic pulse exploded outward like a miniature star. The queen shrieked as her control systems failed. The living walls began to crack and crumble. The pods containing stolen humans burst open, spilling their occupants onto the floor. "What have you done?" The queen screamed, her voice now sounding broken and desperate. "I won the war," Yuna replied, fighting through the alien tendrils as they weakened and released her. The pulse traveled through every piece of Valkyrie technology on campus. Control devices attached to compromised humans sparked and died. Communication arrays exploded in showers of sparks. The alien network that had taken months to build collapsed in seconds. But the EMP did more than destroy local systems. The pulse was so powerful it created a resonance effect, sending a signal through the quantum communication channels the aliens used to coordinate their operations worldwide. In universities across the globe, alien control systems suddenly failed. Compromised students and professors woke up confused and free. Secret laboratories were exposed as their camouflage systems went offline. The carefully hidden invasion was suddenly visible to every government on Earth. The queen, her connection to her global network severed, began to collapse like a deflating balloon. "This changes nothing," she gasped. "My people will return. We will rebuild." "Maybe," Yuna said, helping freed humans climb out of the broken pods. "But now everyone knows you are coming. Humans do not like being enslaved. We have a bad habit of fighting back." She looked around at the crumbling alien chamber. "And we are very good at war." The queen made one last attempt to attack, but her body was failing as the technology keeping her alive shut down. She fell to the organic floor and did not move again. Yuna led the rescued humans up through the collapsing building. Outside, the campus was in chaos, but it was human chaos. Students were confused but free, asking questions, demanding answers. Professors who had been compromised were themselves again, horrified at what they had been forced to do. Emergency vehicles filled the campus as government forces arrived to investigate. The story could not be hidden anymore. Within hours, news reports were broadcasting around the world about the alien infiltration and how it had been stopped by a group of students and one veteran. 3 months later, Yuna sat in a real classroom taking a real literature exam. The question was about heroism in modern fiction, and she found herself writing about ordinary people who do extraordinary things when the world needs them. Her prosthetic arm worked perfectly as she wrote. The scars from her final battle with the aliens were healing. Most importantly, the nightmares from the war were finally fading. The campus had returned to normal, or as normal as it could be after everyone learned that aliens had been living among them. Security was tighter now, but the students were more aware, more united. They had learned that freedom was not something to take for granted. Sometimes Yuma gave talks to military academies about asymmetric warfare and alien psychology. She always ended with the same message. The aliens thought they understood humans. They studied our books, our movies, our history. They learned about our weapons and our armies, but they missed the most important thing about us. She would pause and look at the young faces in the audience. They underestimated our stubbornness. Humans do not surrender. We do not give up. When someone tries to control us, we find a way to break free. When someone invades our home, we fight back. That is what makes us dangerous. Not our technology, not our weapons, but our refusal to accept defeat. That is why we will always win.